All right, we got a lot of questions going on, not just in the NFL, but the sports world and even those who cover it right now about that line, about what to do with people who break laws, offend others, or just flat out hurt people. And tonight, there is a new headache that comes out for the NFL. Adrian Peterson, all-pro running back, one of the biggest stars in the NFL, was indicted today on child endangerment charges. He's accused of beating his son with a switch. Now, we're going to keep you updated on the case as the facts unfold here, but this is an indictment. We don't even have to, sadly, make the distinction here because there's so many cases that are even past the indictment phase here about teams or owners or management that have to make decisions as it relates to what to do about the talent or about the player and how to discipline it right now. So the poster child, if you will, for this one, of course, is Ray Rice. And we're now, again, getting your phone calls about what you would do if you were in a situation. I'm going to go through them individually. If you were put in that position on how to handle these cases here. Now, I also want to know what you would do, and I'm going to get to my first scenario, and it's the 49ers radio host Ted Robinson, and this is the tamest of all of them. Ted Robinson, who many of you may remember from doing even Met games here in our market not long ago, he made comments here about Janae Rice, she, the then fiancee, now wife of Ray Rice. And we want to know how you think Fox News should have addressed Fox anchors and Fox and Friends, who also joked about the scandal, also talk about a player on the Panthers who was convicted of assault, and also the NBA, where the Hawks are trying to figure out how a player or a general manager, I'd say, said some comments about Leo Downing. But let's go to each one individually here. Let's start with the 49ers radio announcer, Ted Robinson. Under fire for making comments about Janae Rice. Here's exactly what he had to say. How does she marry him after he did that? How does she go in front of Goodell and stand by him? That is pathetic to me. Now, the victim here, he goes on to say, bears some of the responsibility for not speaking up. That, to me, is the saddest part. Okay, this is an announcer who, again, was condemning the violence, but nonetheless going directly after Janae Rice here, the then fiancee, now wife. And I want to go to the phone lines and start off with Peter, who's calling us from New Jersey. If you are management at the radio station that employs Ted Robinson here, what do you think the station should have done for the comments that he said? Do you think it crossed the line, and do you think, Peter, that it should be punishable with suspension, termination, an apology? What do you think they should have done to him?
Are you talking about Ray Rice or the radio
No, I'm
guy?
talking about that radio guy. What do you think should have happened to him?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't really hear because I was waiting on hold, but I wanted to make a comment, about the Rice scandal. Maybe it should be called the NFL or Roger Goodell scandal because Ray Rice, he committed a crime. He's not arguing it, whether he gets a 2-game suspension or 2-year suspension. He's going to deal with it. I don't think there's any doubt what happened. I hope that Ray Rice can somehow, he and his wife can go through major counseling, rehabilitation, cure their drinking problem. Maybe Ray Rice can become a spokesperson for now. Maybe a positive can come out of it.
We are a land of second chances. We've seen that certainly with Michael Vick. If you pay, in effect, penance here for what you've done, we are forgiving public here, but you have to be contrite, you have to be genuine, and you have to pay a price. And I don't believe, with his advanced age, at least as it relates to the NFL and maybe diminished skills, Ray Rice and the headache it would pose for another employer, because the Ravens already said he won't play again for them, that we will see a second act for Ray Rice, but we will see. All right, I'm going to come back to that Ted Robinson quote here, guys. What do you think? And I'll ask you, TJ, you've worked in radio yourself.
Yeah.
He makes those remarks. Do you think the Giants, who employ him, because he does a little bit of both here,
Right.
do you think that he should have gone on the air the next day, or do you think he should have suffered a penalty?
It sounded like you understood where he was going at the beginning of that quote. You know what I mean? Like, anytime, there are some things you never, ever do. You never compare to Hitler, you never put on blackface, and you never, ever, ever blame the victim. I mean, those are like the Mount Rushmore of what you never, ever do. And he did one of them, and he starts putting the onus on the victim in this case. All right, so bad. It doesn't seem like to me. It doesn't. It seems like it was terribly executed. But at the beginning, saying that you wish she hadn't had to
I'll tell you what they did.
What did they do?
The Giants at the end decided to suspend him for 2 games. I think the word pathetic that he attached to her actions, and said in effect that she was part of the problem, in the end did it. Now
that's the deal breaker.
The Ray Rice guy.
Right. Now let me get to the next one, and this one you may have seen. You may also know the answer on this. Fox News, the Fair and Balanced Network, they gave a lukewarm apology this week after hosts of the show, Fox and Friends, decided it would be a good time to make some jokes about the Rice scandal. If you didn't see it, take a listen for yourself.
Look, Rihanna went back to
Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris Brown right after. A lot of people thought that was a terrible message.
And then there's Jay-Z and Beyonce and Solange. That was also in an elevator.
But he knows JV didn't hit back.
There was some craziness
I think
there.
the message is take the stairs.
Take the stairs.
Kill me.
Let me see if Catherine, did you follow that? I'm curious. Speaking of the Ray Rice scandal here, what do you think? Should the hosts have been forced to do an apology, be suspended for making a joke, or do you think, hey, it's television and we make too much out of people's words?
I think what we're doing is piecemealing this stuff. We're grabbing, little things that happen, and blowing it up or whatever. I think the root problem is a lot of us still accept it as, well, it's okay. And then when money gets involved, like the NFL or whatever, they want to sweep it under the rug. Don't we teach our kids not to hit, not to be violent, or we're supposed to be teaching our kids that? And, generations before, it was accepted. Men beat their kids, or beat each other up, and beat the women or whatever. They were property. Well, we're past that. And the laws supposedly reflect that. So how come we're still having debates about that? Who was right and who was wrong? I mean, I'm not for my son. I brought him up. He's 23 now. I brought him up specifically not to hit, not just girls. Don't hit people. Even
Catherine, it's funny. Not as funny, but I was struck by the people who not only put on the jersey, the Ray Rice jersey, with pride when they went. The Ravens played last night and won, by the way, and they wore the Rice jersey, but the women who wore the Rice jersey, and to me, not that it's any more acceptable that if a guy wore it, but to me, being tone deaf, to intentionally go do that and to try and make some odd statement, I think speak volumes. But Andrew, coming back to that clip we played of Fox and Friends, I know you know the answer, but were you surprised there was no punishment, and the apology wasn't even a genuine apology the next day? There wasn't really any admission.
I'm not surprised because we're dealing with Fox and Friends and we're dealing with Fox. I would have liked to have seen a suspension in that case just because they were so glib with such a serious topic and in a way that didn't have any redeeming quality whatsoever. And I just quickly, to Catherine's point, I don't think anybody is saying that violence is accepted, and I think that's the major point. But how everybody deals with it, how we react to it, how the NFL reacts to it, how the prosecutors react to it, how we as a nation react to it is of serious concern because, yeah, it is piecemealing it a little bit, but we have to figure out how to handle these things and how we should handle it in terms of public discourse.
Well, look, there is a certain amount, when there's such big money at stake, there is a certain amount of enabling that happens, be it big athletes or big-time showbiz. Look at all the rope that what's his name? 2.5 Men. Sheen. Look at Sheen. Look at how they just rode him right into the ground.
You want a perfect example of this? We don't even have to look too far. Stay in the world of football and deal with something this Sunday that a team's going to have to make a decision about. Greg Hardy. He's on the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, right.
He's a high-priced, he's in his prime defensive lineman, and he's got a major domestic violence case that he's looking at himself. North Carolina judge found that Hardy, who you see there on the screen, they found him guilty of assaulting and threatening his ex-girlfriend. Now, and if you read the details of the case, they're horrible about what he allegedly did and was convicted of by a judge trial here. Hardy appealed the decision, and now his case is going to go before trial. Now, that is what is allowed under North Carolina law. The Panthers owner, Jerry Richardson, he's got a decision. What are you going to do with this guy? He was found guilty in a court of law, but he does have more recourse. We can get a jury trial, which he has done. He has appealed it. But this Sunday, this guy's going to suit up for him. And he spoke out, did Jerry Richardson, the owner, earlier this week about domestic violence.
When it comes to domestic violence, my stance is not one of indifference. I stand firmly against domestic violence, plain and simple.
Okay, so he's against it. Now, he does have a choice. He can still deactivate this player and say, you're not going to wear my uniform that I'm the owner of. You're not going to play for me and represent me on Sunday or not. I want to go to Troy, who's calling us from New York. And Troy, obviously, we're following the Ray Rice situation. But in real time, we have another case. And if you read the facts of this case for what he was convicted of, even more horrific than what Ray Rice did in that elevator. And his girlfriend or fiance at the time, Greg Hardy's, she is definitely pursuing this, saying this is no miscommunication or misunderstanding. He did it, and now they're going to go to a jury trial. If you're the owner of the Carolina Panthers, Troy, do you pay this? You're going to have to pay him anyway. Do you suit this guy up and say, yes, you know what, let this play out in the court system, innocent until proven guilty until the jury trial? Or do you say, you know what, I may pay him, but he's not going to represent me on Sunday?
No, I wouldn't pay him, and I would suspend him for the game. And as far as I'm concerned, the root of the problem is we treat these kids growing up in high school, the high school stars, like he probably was. We treat them like kings, and this is what we create.
Well, you're certainly talking about the entitled modern athlete. There does seem to be very little in the way of punishment. And Andrew, just an hour before we went to air, we got word from Carolina as to what they would or wouldn't do. And you saw the tearful, statement there from the Carolina owner, himself a former player, by the way, Jerry Richardson, one of the only times a former player has actually gone on to own a team. And he says his position is not one of indifference to domestic violence. But tell everybody what he's decided to do with Greg Hardy come this Sunday.
He's going to play him.
He's going to play him.
How? Can I ask how? I thought they've established a new policy.
No, but he hasn't, because it's still in the legal works, because the appeal is underway, and that's the system in North Carolina.
Innocent until proven guilty. He wasn't convicted.
The NFL can't.
Nope.
There's no automatic.
Convicted, and now it's on appeal.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
I'm with you.
Where's Goodell?
it's one of the
No.
shadings. It's one of the shadings of the legal
Where's the
system in
NFL?
North Carolina.
You can argue Goodell may be hamstrung because of the legality, but
Nah.
the owner
Players
of the team,
Association.
time out. I'd like to think, and it's easy to say, if you're not running a billion-dollar industry in terms of valuation for a franchise, I cannot understand how you're going to have that guy on Sunday, put your uniform on and go out there. Is he legally bound to be paid in the meantime until discipline can be worked out? Yes. Pay the check, but don't let him put the uniform on. Will it hurt the team? You'll also send a message as to where you stand for.
See, because then
Would you agree?
I mean, I agree with you, but apparently Richardson seems to think that winning the game is more important.
But
I think that's exactly a fair way to say it.
where's the play? This also comes down to the Players Association. This should be where the NFL Players Association steps up and goes, hey, you know what, Goodell, we got this one. We're not going to back you up. So you guys go ahead and feel free to suspend him. We won't pursue any other course. That should be it. This guy should be. This is bad. This is bad.
It is bad. And unfortunately, I got more cases that if I had more time I could get into. Real time, real non-hypothetical cases as to where management too often is making the decision that, you know what, let the next guy make the tough call, not me. But it's a sad state of affairs. This thing is going to play out. It'll be fascinating how this plays out for the NFL and for one Roger Goodell here, arguably the most powerful man in American sports. All right, when we come back, we switch gears. Guns in America. The children of the Arizona gun instructor who was accidentally killed by a 9-year-old armed with an Uzi at a gun range, they have a message for her, and it's one of compassion. We'll tell you about that. And also, believe it or not, Missouri, who's been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons with Ferguson, they've decided the answer is to expand their gun laws, and it doesn't seem to be for the better. We'll have much more on that after this.